heading towards Ventura Boulevard. It was a southbound turn, got a little turned around right there as we were setting up Sky 9 this evening. As far as him driving erratically, I'm not really sure. There must have been something that cued the officers earlier on when they attempted to make it. Here comes that pit maneuver. That vehicle coming up right up next to it, nice and slow, spinning that car out. Look at that. That is a beautiful pit as far as tactics go. Now that car coming to a stop, some other vehicles in the other lanes. Now, was it enough to disable it? Was it enough to shake that driver up? It does seem like it. The car coming to a stop out here on Winnetka just before Ventura Boulevard, right by Hatteras. Officers from the LAPD, they are out right now. You can see them kind of blocking the vehicle in. There is a spot if the vehicle did want to make its way out, and there we go. He's actually taking it right there. Officers from LAPD getting back into their vehicles, and this car's starting to move again. Now we're going northbound. We're making our way away from Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah, you know, sometimes those pit maneuvers work. That was a textbook execution of the pit maneuver. You always think that that vehicle would then stall, and then police would be able to, you know, at that point in time, yell to the driver to get out. We don't know if they started the car back up again or if it never stalled at all, but it looks like that pit maneuver you see on the inset there on the right side, very successful. It was a wide open road there, didn't look like a whole lot of traffic. It seemed to me, Susie, the speed was quite a bit more than what you usually see when they do a pit maneuver. It seemed that that suspect vehicle seemed to accelerate just as they were getting ready to do that pit maneuver. I don't know if that had anything to do with it being unsuccessful, but
well, I think, you know, I mean, in the beginning he was driving slow to start out with, so, you know, maybe speeding up a little bit more than that, but for the most part, I think it might have been a slower pit maneuver than we normally see, Jeff.
Yeah.
But we continue to follow this pursuit now that just continued again here in the valley. Pit maneuver was attempted by the LAPD. Well, it was actually successful in the pit part, but the driver kept on driving. That was near Ventura Boulevard, near Hatteras in the city of Winnetka. And we continue to follow this pursuit. Stu, you mentioned this is a suspected DUI driver.
That's a suspected DUI driver. Earlier on there, just a few moments ago, that driver making hand signals out the window. I actually saw him turning on the blinker. Most courteous pursuit that I've seen in a long time, that's for sure. There's some of those hand signals again. These are PG. I can show these on television. He's got his hand out the window. He's pointing to something out to the front. I think he's telling him maybe to back off or slow down. I'm not really sure what his signaling really means there. I'm not proficient with most of that. But right now, I can tell you he's still moving along. They are talking about another unit possibly doing a pit maneuver on this vehicle right now. I'd like to get the name of the street. I haven't heard him yet. They're coming up to another red light, but in the past, he is actually, when he's made those right turns, he's been doing it very legally. Right now, it looks like he stopped at a red light. It looks like we're going to make a left turn on Corbin. They're not going to do the pit right now, but possibly as soon as he makes that turn, they might try it. Here we go. He's trying to make that turn. Let's see if they do that pit. The vehicle moving very slow. If they do do another pit maneuver right now, they may try to block him in. LAPD, they don't like to do that system where they block in the car after they pit it. We've seen California Highway Patrol make those moves in the past. They'll do a pit maneuver and another car will basically wedge that car in. LAPD, they don't do that because they don't want to put the officers in direct danger. That's one of the reasons. Waiting for another light right there, and you can see a number of other officers, LAPD officers in the area, just nearby this pursuit in case they're needed if something happens when this thing comes to an end.
You know, it's always so weird to see the split personalities of these drivers. I mean, here he's being courteous, driving below the speed limit. He was stopping. Here goes a pit. Let's see this live here. This is of a drunk driver. Second attempt maybe coming up.
He's not going to do it with the cars.
Yeah, too many other cars around.
They actually made contact with the car. Yeah, they made contact with that car underneath those trees, but then as soon as it didn't really work, they basically backed off because of the parked cars. Right now we're on Hamlin. This is going to be a very residential part of the area out here, West Valley. Eastbound Hamlin from Corbin. Vehicle continues to move. There's those hand signals again. Not sure what he's trying to tell the officers, but it seems like he's either telling them to keep going or he's telling them to slow down, but the same type of hand signals all evening. DUI, impaired driving. Don't know what it was that cued the officers to get this thing started. but it looks like this is going to, I'm hearing them talk, it looks like it's going to be circling basically around, bringing it back onto the to the major. Some more of those hand signals right there as this car continues to elude officers this evening from LAPD West Valley Division, as we are in West Valley, a suspected DUI driver.
Yeah, it's just weird to see these drivers that will do one thing, like use the turn signal, stop at a stoplight, and then proceed, and then all of a sudden when they're in a pit maneuver, when they should be giving up, they instead continue on with the chase.
It's true,
odd.
Jeff, and so often, I mean, covering these pursuits, we see these high-speed pursuits and them driving very erratically and not obeying stop signals and things like that. But in this case, this driver is being very courteous, as Stu and yourself mentioned. I mean, he's making the turns. I mean, just like that, very slowly, and obeying traffic signals, as we saw them making the left turn. Following at one point, Stu, you talked about this being a following at one point.
Spike strips.
Okay, it looks like they pulled it away.
They didn't get them.
You know, spike strips, that's another thing. That's another, you know, operation that they'll deploy, but that takes a lot of time, too. So that took some methodical, you know, procedure on their part by the LAPD, because they have to deploy that. It takes a lot of time to do something like that.
And he continues to wave. I don't know if he's waving or telling them to stop, but I mean, why doesn't he stop? That's what is really necessary to end this thing. I don't know. You can never, Stu, get into the minds of these drivers here, and this one is as strange and unpredictable as any others we've seen. Here's another possible pit maneuver. Take it away, Stu.
Another possible pit maneuver. And you know, Jeff, I'm just telling you, you know what? Some of the times I'm kind of happy things don't work out like that. I do not want to put my mind into this guy's mindset at all. You know, Susie, you were talking about that spike strip. It was very convenient for them. Apparently that street basically had one way in, one way out, and made a big loop, and that was the reason why they were able to get those spike strips out, but maybe not quick enough. One LAPD officer really wanting to bring this thing to an end did a valiant job right there, getting up right next to the car, but now it seems that it might have maybe even scared this guy a little bit. The speeds maybe picking up just a little bit. I wouldn't say dangerously high speeds. Of course, he is not stopping. Of course, he is impaired. So any speed. Whoa, there you go. Another spike strip. Little surprise right there. That one may have gotten it. It was a successful hit with the spike strip. So
or is he just stopping for a stoplight
sooner or later?
Or is he just stopping for a stoplight, right?
No, yes, he's stopping for the stoplight, but they definitely had a successful spike, meaning the officer saying that the car ran over the spike strip, so we'll see if those tires go flat. Right now, though, we're at Tampa, as you can see, officers from LAPD. Front passenger wheel is where it got hit. I believe we're going to be on Van Owen. If not Van Owen, it's going to be Victory. I always get those two mixed up. But you can see a number of officers, that white vehicle pulling up right there and undercover. But you also see a lot of traffic out here this evening. Everybody's waiting for the light. Now he has a flat tire, and he's going to be continuing on.
And Stu, you mentioned that this was a following at one point. What was the reason for that?
Well, his aggressive driving. Here comes another slow pit. Oh, that
took the right quarter panel out.
Yeah, it just took it off. Now he's moving even slower. He's got the bumper dragging. He's got a flat tire. You know what? Even though we're looking at this car saying, maybe that's not the greatest car, but it was his car, and you just got to think if you just would have pulled over, this thing would have been all over. We don't know what the other reasons may be, but now he's dragging his bumper. He's got one flat tire. We're back into a Sylvia from Victory, residential neighborhood. They may actually do another pit. They just want to bring this thing to a stop.
Yeah, well, this car continues to kind of list to the right side. You see the right front tire there is deflated after going over a spike strip not too long ago, and the police officers are chipping away at this vehicle piece by piece. They got a spike strip that took out the right front tire, and then the right rear quarter panel, the whole bumper in the back is gone. And it looks like at one point in time the driver was telling police or people on the sidewalk, I don't know if he was waving at them or if he was telling them to stop or that he would slow down, but he certainly isn't stopping the vehicle. Here's an indication again of what he continues to do behind the wheel. Just puts out that left arm, kind of looks like he's pushing.
Or shaking his hand.
Or even waving his hand for some reason. This is very odd and very much like a split personality. I mean, he's a very courteous driver, stopping, using the turn signal, and then when they had a pit maneuver and he was stalled out, he got the vehicle started and then went on. I don't understand stuff like that.
Yeah, it's true. You know, and the LAPD, as Stu mentioned, really wants to get this guy. They really want to get this guy right now because they've tried 3 pit maneuvers so
another
far.
Spike strip.
Another spike strip. This is the
nice
3rd spike strip that he has.
That might have got all 4
spike strip
tires.
that when he went over. And it looks like he's still going, but this is going to come to an end soon because those tires can't handle this.
That's pretty easy to say that this guy is impaired because he ran over that spike strip slowly and hit all 4 tires. So this guy's going to be a
I don't think he can
goner.
go any faster though with the tire damage though, right, Stu?
Yeah. Well, we've seen these cars move very quickly with less tires than what we got going on here. Right now, though, this car just continues to keep moving. They were talking about the driver's side, the passenger front flat, and we can clearly see that both passenger tires right now flat, dragging the bumper right now, probably starting to get a little noisy inside that car. Impaired driving, that's what the original want was. We don't know. Perhaps there was something else. Maybe this guy has warrants and he just didn't want to spend any time in jail. Right now, though, he's definitely going to be in custody when this thing comes to an end. The spike strips seem to be coming out more and more. And this car driving around this neighborhood now, perhaps this is a neighborhood this person lives in, so maybe they're talking about maybe this car coming to a stop in an area that he's familiar with. Right now, and now they're throwing out the word she, but it does appear that the driver of this car is what appeared to be a male, but we could be wrong. Right now, though, 2 flat tires, rear bumper missing, extremely slow speeds out here. Residential neighborhood. LAPD, they got the helicopter above. They got a little bit of a parade of officers behind it there. Well, 4. That's basically what they usually have. And this car continues to limp along right now in the spotlight, as it would be, as it works its way down this residential neighborhood. That driver just going to take it for all it's worth, and we'll see how much chipping away, as Jeff came up with, is going to be happening out here.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us here on KCAL 9 News at 10, this is breaking news. A pursuit in progress right now by the LAPD. Suspected DUI driver behind the wheel of this sedan. That's been kind of moving slowly along as it's run over 3, actually the LAPD deployed 3 spike strips and it has gone over 2 at least. On the right side of your screen you see some video from earlier going over one of those spike strips. The LAPD was just Johnny on the spot, ready to deploy those spike strips like we were talking about earlier, Jeff. It takes some time to deploy those.
It does.
It's not a quick process. You have to be in place, you have to take them out of the box, then you got to throw them out there and just in time for that driver to be going by. And you know what though, the driver has kind of given him the opportunity because he's been driving so slow.
He's really helping him out, and it might be because he's impaired. We're saying it's a DUI. I mean, that could also mean, you know, drug impaired. It could mean marijuana. I mean, the way that the driver's acting seems to be kind of slow moving through some of those spike strips. You just wonder what type of drug it would be, whether it's alcohol or some other sort of drug, but it is somebody under the influence that began this police chase. There was one successful spike there. I'm sorry, go ahead, Stu.
Oh, no, we were just getting information. We've been hearing it on the scanner as well. You know, I just wasn't sure about this. I didn't want to put it out there, but now we're hearing that it is pretty much confirmed that it is a stolen vehicle also. That's what we're hearing right now. Comes back stolen, and they are saying it is a female behind the wheel. So we're going to wait and see when this thing comes to an end here. But this vehicle continues to limp along out here. 2 flat tires. There comes another spike strip.
Wow. All
right, now we've got some driver's side flat tires as well. This is the first time we've seen this person run a stop sign this evening, so maybe the driving's getting a little bit more aggressive. It's really tough to say. This is very slow moving. The car continues to move along. Residential neighborhood out here.
You know, this is almost like a training exercise at this point because they have deployed what? 5?
At least 4 or 5, yeah.
I mean, they're almost doing it at will when it comes to this driver who continues to drive right over the spike strips.
Yeah, and he keeps, or he or she, I think it's a she at this point, as Stu just mentioned, but keeps driving in circles, I believe, in the same neighborhood. Is that what this person is doing? Are they going in circles right now?
We are basically just maneuvering through a residential area. We haven't got onto any of the majors out here this evening. Eastbound Irwin towards Wilbur, that's the current location right now. Going to make their way onto Wilbur. you know, they're saying female driver. Now they're saying stolen vehicle. We're working our way onto. That's why I was getting a little bit wider. There are some majors out here. Another very slow speed pit. Here comes another one, maybe a little faster this time. No cars around, and also no curb. Yep, there we go. Up, just enough to scrape the paint. And so just keeping moving. Now that one officer, it looks like is not giving up. He's going to stay right behind there and attempt another one right now, maybe a little bit faster. There we go. That was a nice tight one. But the car stopping again.
This is over.
Let's see if this time it's enough to bring this thing to an end.
This is not the first time.
This is very dangerous. When they keep moving so close to the officers, even though it's very slow speed, it almost seems comical.
Yeah, and this is not the first time that we've seen this evening. Well, there was a point where they attempted the first pit maneuver. There's another one right there. Wow, this is a total, I believe, 6 pit maneuvers so far.
Yeah, and this police officer is doing a good job of keeping up with her. It's amazing to me that the hand gestures while they are hitting the vehicle. It almost is like this driver, this female behind the wheel of this stolen vehicle, wanted for DUI, is almost waving to the police to get her out somehow. I don't know. And she's like, or maybe she's saying, come on, come on.
That's the first time we've seen her, her hair and her face, actually.
And now it looks like she's waving, like maybe bring
helicopters.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on here, but to me, this car, all 4 tires are flat at this point in time. We've got a bumper missing in the back. She's severely disabled when it comes to the vehicle. I mean, the steering's got to be terrible, and yet she's still able to elude police, at least at this point in time. Yeah,
2 times she's gotten away from them after a pit pursuit, or a pit, I believe. Yeah. And, you know, she just keeps on going, a pit maneuver, forgive me. You know, and she keeps rolling along, although she has to have significant damage to those tires, Stu.
Well, you know, we know the 2 passenger tires definitely flat. We've seen her drive over a spike strip with the driver's side, but you know that's what we've been talking about in the past. We've seen these spike strips being thrown out. We're like, whoa, boom, that's it, and the spike strips are laying on their sides, or they're not quite deployed correctly, and those little nails don't break off in the tires. It does seem like the driver's side still pretty solid. Those tires definitely holding air. It does let the air out slowly, but those tires are still going to be solid. Coming up on Reseda now, so another major. If she gets out onto that major, they might try to do something again, maybe another pit maneuver. You can see those officers really just right behind it. That one SUV right there, I mean, my gosh, it was like watching something out of Happy Days. The Malachi brothers, who were watching the demolition derby. That guy just kept hitting the car, and it's just not stopping. This car, though, continues to move along very slowly. I can understand now why they said earlier possibly male, possibly female. Looks like long gray hair, but you know, maybe this person is just a child of the 60s. Yeah. But right now, green light as we're making our way over here onto Reseda, and we're just keeping moving here on Irwin very slowly. And that car just far enough to stay ahead of those officers. And you can see what I believe to be an independent news guy down there, a stringer, getting a shot as this thing's moving by very slow. And you know what, Jeff, you brought up something very cool. You said something about this is almost like being a training exercise. One time an officer once told me that everything is a training exercise of these guys, meaning that whenever there's a situation going on, that is a time to train. And this one, you are right, slow moving. They're getting to do the pit maneuver very slowly. They pick their areas, very safe. And of course, putting out those spike strips. Susie was talking about that earlier on. All this stuff, very, very efficient. And it gives these guys a little bit of information underneath their belt. But it is a full-on pursuit, even though very, very slow. There's a speed bump right there. Probably didn't need that. And the helicopter above it, lights are on it. And this car continues just to stay about a car length ahead of officers. Very slow moving. Don't think it's the car. I believe it's the driver. 2 flat tires, bumper hanging. I've lost count with the pits, and it continues to move along. Yeah,
it's almost like, hey, why don't you give it a try? We got these spike strips. Why don't you give it a try when it comes to the pit maneuver? Because this car is going so slowly and giving these officers many opportunities. But I don't know what kind of car this is, but this is a tank. It's taken some abuse tonight. To the backside several times by several pits by these officers. It ran over at least 3 or 4 spike strips. All 4 tires, I think, would be damaged, but it continues to go. But yet, what is so unusual and always a mystery to me is if you're going this slow, you're damaged, you can't go anywhere else. Why don't you just put it in park and give up?
Yeah, and you know, we always think that after a pit maneuver, as Stu was mentioning too, after a pit maneuver or a spike strip, you know, that this individual might give up and surrender, but if their car keeps going, I mean, that's what they're doing. They keep going. And on the right side of your screen, you saw one of the successful pit maneuvers there. And after that one, and after that second one, they just kept on going. Stu, let's talk about the dangers sometimes of, you know, when they actually do perform these pit maneuvers and the driver is stopped, they don't want to get too close still. I mean, you'd think the officers would just jump out of their vehicle and just try to arrest this person right away, but that is not the protocol, and that is not the case.
Well, you know, Susie, that's an excellent choice, excellent question, because, you know, we watch these things and we do get a little into them sometimes, and we do tend to take away from the danger and what is going on. In this case, we don't know why this person is stopping. Jeff was talking about it. Why don't you just stop? I mean, gosh, you're just kind of rolling along right now, and Jeff, you are right. It looks like we have, nope, the two tires, I thought they were flat. The driver's side tire's still good. We see a little bit of smoke coming from inside the vehicle. That might allude to what type of DUI we are talking about. And but the danger is what you're talking about. We don't know exactly what the deal is. Jeff was talking about why does this car keep moving? Well, obviously this person doesn't want to go into custody, so why? Who knows what this person has done in the past? Maybe this person has warrants. Now they're saying the car is stolen. So there's so many other things. And then other law enforcement agencies, they all have different types of ways of doing things. We've seen California Highway Patrol do those pits and then just come right up on the car and block it in. And we saw one time just recently where they smashed it, they sandwiched it. So LAPD, they do the pit,
try
and
another
they stand
one.
back. Here comes another one.
Let's
right here.
Boop, doop. Or maybe, you know, this driver is impaired, so maybe the driver is so bombed out of their mind they don't even know what's going on. I mean, maybe they think that nothing is going on, or whatever the case may be, and that's why they continue to go. You think anybody in their right mind would just go ahead. Yeah, this is
he might want to forget about it tomorrow. He might want to forget that this was going on.
Still with a hand gesture.
Yeah, that's why I put in that doubler, the digital doubler there, just trying to get a little bit closer. Now they stopped at a red light. This is another one, Susie, where a lot of people, they ask me too. They say, well, you know what, if you stopped at a red light, just get in front of a block him in. That is not LAPD policy. They don't want to put their officers in any kind of clear danger.
You saw the door come out of the cruiser back behind there, though. You saw the door in the cruiser open up there.
Pop open, yeah. Every time that thing comes to a stop, they're going to get out, just in case this guy gets out and runs. Westbound Oxnard from Irwin, that's where we are. Another another LAPD vehicle there blocking traffic the other direction. Here comes another pit. This is that's a big chunk pit right there.
Wow, they're getting pretty aggressive now. Look at that, going up on the curb too.
Yeah, and you know, that's what they just want to get this thing stopped. And I guess the idea right now is maybe that officer was thinking, maybe if I can just
the other
push
side.
it enough.
That's a good idea. There we go.
There we go. There we go.
Wow.
This is unbelievable.
Just the tenacity of this driver.
It really is,
and, you know, the brave, I mean, I hate to call it, it's stupidity is what it is, but you see the driver had her arm out while the police vehicle was right there trying to do the pit maneuver.
Yeah.
I mean, that person could have got their hand or their arm in between the vehicles and been severely injured.
Yeah, and she was using her hand motions again, the gestures that she's been doing throughout this pursuit. This has been going on for latter part of the 10 o'clock hour now, probably for about 30 minutes at least.
What would that hand signal be? Is it kind of pushing like, is she saying stop or is she saying
slow down?
We really don't know.
Saying, but we know at this point that she's probably impaired. We know this is a stolen vehicle.
Odd behavior.
And evading police, so she's definitely racking up the charges against her. Well, this is the pursuit of a stolen car throughout the valley that we've been following here on KCAL 9 News at 10 with breaking news. This was a following at one point because there may have been some erratic driving, and then police cruisers got behind this car and attempted, at least from what I have counted, 8 pit maneuvers this evening.
Wow.
And they have deployed the spike strips 4 times, and
Several times,
I mean, honestly, losing count because it's been happening so often.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where every car chase, none of this is routine for anybody. For us, for Stu, for the police officers certainly, and you would hope to think that it wouldn't be for the driver either.
And because they're always so different.
Right, so everything that you see is the first time for everything. This is the first time we've seen a car go so slowly and endure this much, attention, if you will, from the police officers and damage from the police cars and the spike strips, but yet continues to drive. And it's a woman that continues to gesture out the window, whether it's come on, bring it, or help me, or I'm slowing down, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, this hasn't been a wild pursuit. We have seen wild pursuits. Stu has definitely seen his share of those. But this has been a slow pursuit. This person has been obeying stop signals and driving slowly, and you know, not doing much, you know, in the way of, I guess, harming the public.
She's
or
very
endangering
deliberate,
the public, but definitely putting lives in danger just by continuing with this pursuit.
Yeah, not to mention wasted resources with all those officers out there. Let's go back up to Stu Mandel in Sky 9 and see what the very latest is. Stu?
Well, Jeff, right now we're basically at Oxnard and Reseda. I believe that was the intersection we're passing through right now. And, you know, you were talking about resources. I just got to think all those bumpers that are going to have to get repainted and fixed on these LAPD vehicles. The car continuing now, making it looks like a left turn, perhaps heading someplace home-ish? No.
It's a gas station parking lot.
Got a pedestrian out there, got some media out there as well. Don't know what stringer company that is, but definitely moving along very slowly. We've seen these come to ends many times at a gas station. Let's see if this person just continues on. This one is continuing on. Basically just kind of driving around.
I thought she might stop underneath that awning.
You think she's going to stop for gas?
I thought she might stop underneath the awning so she won't be seen by the, you know, the choppers.
Well, they...
Yeah, but there's a lot of media down there as well. You can see those stringers right there. And
very dangerous around those gas pumps, too.
And now they're basically making a statement, talking to the guys with the cameras at signs in the way. But I can guarantee you, there's two guys with cameras right there working their way out of that gas station. You can see them right there. I think that's actually RMG. I can tell by the hat. And here we go now back out onto the streets. And Oxnard from Reseda is what they're saying right now, and the vehicle basically going back the same direction it was going. Super slow.
Yeah.
That car is impaired now too, I can almost guarantee you. And the driver doing, let's see the hand signals. We're still trying to figure out what that means, but still putting that hand out the window every now and then. Maybe just trying to get some cool air.
Or maybe, you know.
We're hearing another spike strip coming up. You can really kind of see the damage right now, Susie. I mean, geez, look at this thing. But the driver's side tires still solid. You know, and front-wheel drive vehicle, you know.
I think she's just going to keep going until she can, until this car gives out or she runs out of gas. Who knows? But we've been following this pursuit for well over 40 minutes now, and it's been in the cities of Van Nuys, Winnetka, and now in the city of Reseda. She hasn't been moving fast, no freeways, and LAPD cruisers have been behind her pretty much the entire time. There was one point, Stu was mentioning that the driver may have been driving erratically, so they did back off just for safety purposes, but did get back on her tail just as soon as they thought that she was driving, I guess, slow enough. Right, Stu?
You know, right, definitely. I'm just, you know, because of this extremely riveting high-speed pursuit, I have a little time to get on the social media. People are coming up with ideas that why don't we just drop a net from the helicopter, especially this thing moving so slowly.
That's a good idea.
You know what? We made our decision a long time ago. We watch what's going on. We don't get involved. And that's what we're doing this evening for sure. This vehicle moving very slowly through the West Valley this evening. That impaired driver, we saw a lot of smoke coming out of the car earlier on. We can just make those assumptions, but we don't really know for sure. We did hear that the car is stolen, but the original reason why they tried to pull it over was a DUI, some sort of impaired driving. So maybe it was that really lethargic, slow-moving, sloth-like driving that we've been seeing all evening that might have got the officers' attention, and then they said, hey, this person obviously has got an issue, let's light them up, you know, lights and sirens, and then the chase was on. Susie, you keep bringing it up that it went to a following. It did. LAPD backed off. They turned the lights and sirens off. They had the helicopter overhead, but it was so slow, like we're seeing now, that they figured, you know what, let's just try to bring this thing to an end. Let's re-engage the chase and try to stop it. But seeing where that's got us this evening, this slow-moving car just continues to elude officers. I did hear about possibly, I'm not giving anything away, that there may be another spike strip being set up somewhere ahead of where this car is. Yeah. But the officers from LAPD, you can see it, Susie. Shoot, that guy chomping at the bit. You can see it wants to get up close to it and do another pit.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any successful ones yet. We saw that perfect one in the beginning.
Yeah, we did, and then the driver kept on going, and you know there was a little bit of confusion earlier, I guess, just from the driver. Not that it matters if this is a female driver or a male driver, they should stop anyway. But we're talking about the fact that this driver is now, we have confirmed, is a man and not a female. We probably got confused by the hair. He does have long hair. We know that much. We also know that this driver is impaired. We also know that he has been gesturing with his hand out the window at some points during the pursuit. We don't know why. Kind of just shaking his hand, waving his hand. We don't know what he was trying to communicate. But this pursuit continues, and we can't believe it because there have been a number of attempted pit maneuvers, successful pit maneuvers, where we thought this guy was going to stop. He did not stop. He stopped for a stop. There goes another spike strip. And that
another spike strip.
I think that was. Oh,
looks like it's stuck under the car. There you go.
It was for a minute, wasn't it? And we know at this point that the passenger side of the car, the tires are pretty much gone, right, Stu?
The passenger side, the tires, you know, we've seen them on the rims, right? The tires are still there. They haven't come off, but they are definitely flat. We have confirmed, like you said, I like to go through the checklist. It went from a male driver to a female driver back to a male driver. Well, okay. And we have 2 flat tires, stolen vehicle, original one, impaired. I can tell you also that I think they're going to back off. I'm not saying because we've been wrong on everything else. We're hearing that they're not going to be doing any more pit maneuvers. They're just going to kind of follow this person. They are going to try to throw the spike strips out when they can. But it's going to be difficult to get those driver sides. You know, you have to understand. You've seen how they do it. They're standing on the side of the road and they toss those things out. If they're on the opposite side of the street, then they got to get out into harm's way, or have like a really great arm to get it across the street to get it onto the driver's side. Earlier on, we did see the car drive over the spike strips on the driver's side, but sometimes it happens. They are not deployed properly. Those little nails aren't sticking up, and the car just kind of drives over it, and that may have been what happened right there.
Yeah,
this car, though, it is a pursuit. Good.
It looks like he has his hazards on now and driving maybe a bit faster than before, Stu?
Well, yeah, maybe. You know, you were talking about, you know, maybe it was Jeff was saying, you know, maybe this person just has no clue. Maybe he thinks he's really moving, and he's going pretty quick out here this evening. Southbound Louise is where we are right now from Irwin, I believe. The car's still moving very slowly. And the rear bumper hanging off the back. This is going to go. It sounds almost like a joke. This is going to go till this thing comes to an end. LAPD is going to stay behind it. If this maybe the vehicle's going to run out of gas, maybe they're going to get another spike strip in, and the car will disable itself. Moving that slowly, maybe it's going to get out on the rims. Who knows? That driver, though, seems pretty determined to keep just enough gas going, or keep just enough speed where this vehicle just continues to move along this evening.
Yeah, and it also makes you wonder why they're not attempting the pit maneuver anymore.
Well, we've seen how successful they've been in the past, and I have a feeling that may be one of the reasons why, and perhaps they're saying, you know, you have to look at it also, the LAPD vehicles, they're not set up like the California Highway Patrol with those big push bumpers on the front. They are basically just the vehicles. They just have the rubber bumper right there. So maybe they're just tired of damaging their own vehicles, and they're just figuring, we're going to do spike strips, and we're just going to follow it till perhaps it runs out of fuel.
Has it been that same lead vehicle that's been conducting those pits, or have they traded off?
Oh, they've definitely traded off. They've traded off multiple times out here this evening. And the one that's back there right now, I think, is the one that we've been seeing a lot of the pit maneuvers. But there was a car earlier, and of course, that first one, that one was out as soon as the pit happened. Okay,
if you're just joining us here on KCAL 9 News at 10, this is an extended version of KCAL 9 News at 10. We are following breaking news of a suspected DUI driver. This is a pursuit by the LAPD. At one point, it was a following. It started in the city of Van Nuys, went through the cities of Winnetka, and now in the city of Reseda. We've seen LAPD attempt at least 8 pit maneuvers. maybe even 9. They've thrown out multiple spike strips, which is not easy to do on behalf of the LAPD, and they've been doing a phenomenal job out there trying to put this guy into jail at some point, into custody, but it looks like this guy is just keeps on going. A really interesting pursuit in the fact that it hasn't been a high-speed pursuit. You can see video on the right side.
Next at 11 o'clock, breaking news, the DUI suspect just won't stop. Stu is live overhead, coming up next.
Closed courses, fast cars, great deals. It must be the Dodge Memorial Day sales event. Well-qualified lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2018 Dodge Challenger for $189 a month. Hurry to the Dodge Memorial Day sales event.
If you haven't seen Universal Studios Hollywood lately, take another look. So much has changed, you may not recognize it. Everywhere you turn, there's something new and unexpected. The fun has never been this bold, and the adventure has never been more real. Universal Studios Hollywood. You'll be amazed at what we've become. See for yourself this summer as you join Master Po and his Kung Fu Panda friends on an awesome adventure at the new DreamWorks Theater.
Think of what you want, what you love. Your best time, your time. Now is the only time. More than that, it's the time you need. Fun time, special time, playtime. Morongo, good times. Closed courses, fast cars, great deals. It must be the Dodge Memorial Day sales event. Well-qualified lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2018 Dodge Challenger for $189 a month. Hurry to the Dodge Memorial Day sales event.
Good evening. Tonight we begin with breaking news, a slow and bumbling pursuit of a suspected DUI driver. Let's go straight to Stu Mundell, who's been over this for the last half hour. Stu.
Well, Jeff, we've been over for the last half hour, and if you guys are just joining us right now, that car started out with the bumper on the back and 4-hole tires. DUI driver, that's how it started. Now, it's some sort of suspected DUI, some kind of impairment going on. Officers from LAPD, West Valley Division, got behind the vehicle, turned on the lights and sirens. That car did not stop. It turned into a pursuit. For a short while, because it was a pursuit and in the valley and the LAPD policies, they went into tracking mode almost right away. The helicopter was there. They had the light on it. They were watching. But this vehicle moving, basically what you see right here, very, very slow, stopping for the red lights, using the blinkers. All the things a courteous driver would do, but driving a little bit slower than the speed limit. They said, we're going to make this thing a full-on pursuit again, and let's pit it and get this thing over. We've seen a number of pit maneuvers. One of the first ones worked very well, spun that car almost all the way around, came to a stop for a short while, but then the car had the opportunity to make a getaway, and it did. Number of pursuits afterwards, spike strips were being used. That's how they lost 2 of the passenger side tires. This car continues to go and go. Then all of a sudden, we hear it's not a DUI, it's not impaired driving, it's a stolen vehicle. Well, now it seems to be a mixture of both. Then there was some question about who's driving this vehicle. We had originally heard male driver behind the wheel, then we heard it's a female. Now we're hearing again, once again, it's a male driver. Right now, though, where are we? We're basically moving our way very, very slowly. We were on Oxnard earlier on, and you can see that we're coming up. I'm going to use right up here on Ventura. Now you can see a little bit of smoke coming out of the side of the car. Earlier on, we saw smoke coming out from inside the car. Maybe that might have been what the impairment was for the driver. Right now, though, that smoke that we're seeing is probably from those hot tires because he has 2 flat tires on the passenger side. This car, though, as long as it's driving, he seems to be keeping that distance from the officers, and this pursuit continues this evening through the West Valley area.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the courteous driver that this is. They just have their hazards on now. At one point in time, they were using, we've been following this story here in the newsroom, using their turn signals. Very courteous, but not courteous enough to stop and end this pursuit that's been going on for about 40 minutes now here in Los Angeles. Just to recap you real quick, police LAPD have conducted 8 pits on this vehicle, several spike strips that this driver ran over, this DUI. slash stolen vehicle suspect here as well. This man behind the wheel continues to take police on a slow and steady pace. It's like the tortoise and the hare, this being the hare, slow and steady, getting the job done by the person behind the wheel as police continue to chip away at this vehicle. When this pursuit began, this vehicle was complete, and now it's in tatters. It's got the bumper off. All 4 tires are inflated, or deflated rather, and there's a number of bumps and bruises and scrapes all along that vehicle as we continue to follow this story here on CBS 2. Let's go back up to Stu Mundell with the very latest. So you say that you're in Reseda, but at one point in time, there was, I don't know if we had an opportunity to bring up an inset box, but they actually went through a gas station. Was that still in Reseda, or was that in Winnetka?
That was in Reseda.
Okay.
That was probably in the Reseda area, and that was RMG. That was Howard down there, one of the stringers that was getting footage of that vehicle. Right now, though, I can tell you we're eastbound on Ventura Boulevard, and Ventura. This, you know, even though it is a Thursday night, there are some clubs out here, dinner places. We are starting to see some people starting to get out onto the streets. A few moments ago, as we made our way into that Encino Commons area, we saw a number of people just outside, cell phones out, taking a look what's going on. Obviously, the helicopter above, the LAPD helicopter, that's the one with the light. That's the one that's going to be about 500 feet below us. So just a couple hundred feet off the ground, using that light, doing the orbits around that car. That, you know, that along with the lights and sirens from all those, from the officers behind it, it's going to make quite a stir. I'm sure people are coming out to take a look what's going on. We can see some officers from LAPD right there, and we were talking about this earlier on, those spike strips. How do they do it? Well, there you go. And that officer,
another one.
That guy, wow. He might get a little star by his name. It does appear that he did it in the most correct way we've seen this evening for the driver's side. He threw it out there and he pulled it back through, and I think he ran him over. We'll find out here shortly. But you know what? Even he has 2 flat tires now, and he might have 4 in a little bit. It's not going to bring this thing to a complete stop. This car is just going to continue to push along until the car probably can't go anymore, and that's when this is going to come to an end. LAPD West Valley, they are behind it. They've been behind it for quite some time. We've seen some maneuvers earlier this evening that were unsafe. Obviously, this person impaired. And of course, even though it is slow moving, even though we are poking a little fun at it this evening, this still is a person that's running from law enforcement this evening in a vehicle, and people still could get hurt. We always got to kind of bring that up and let the public know that this is still, this is still something that is serious in its own right. Officers from LAPD, they viewed hitting this car, doing those pits, like you said, 8 times. Yeah. Amazing. This car's still going. And a couple of those pits, very aggressive. It almost looked like they were trying to push it into the curb, maybe to block it in or get it in a way where it's wedged up against something. But this car continues to move along this evening. That driver enjoying something in there. We can see him smoking something. And the vehicle just moving along very slowly. Ventura Boulevard right now. If we're not out of Encino, we will be shortly. And this pursuit continues. You're right, the hazards are on. LAPD right behind it.
And we're just hoping that that last spike strip deployment did more to that car than we expect. You know, we've seen the spike strip deployed, Jeff, I mean, all night.
Numerous times.
Numerous times.
It's almost like a training exercise. I mean, this car is going so slowly. It's almost like every officer along this route has had the chance to throw the spike strips. And they've done it over and over and over again.
And Stu was mentioning that that's one of the best ones he saw this evening, because he saw that officer position himself in a really good way. I mean, just right in front of the driver's side, just right there. He was really Johnny on the spot, and was able to deploy it really quickly as that driver, like we've been saying all night, has been driving slowly, so definitely giving LAPD officers a better opportunity to do so.
There's definitely a technique to it, because you could throw those spike strips out and they could go sideways, they can go upside down. We saw that a couple times.
We tried to deploy those spike strips ourselves when we were having CHP pursuit training here at the station. We've actually tried to do it ourselves, and it is really hard. You have to take them out of the box, first of all. It's not the lightest box ever, and you've got to, you know, open the box up, and you've got to throw them out, and it takes some strength to do that too, and to get it accurately.
Even with a slow-moving vehicle. You know, let's go back up to Stu, because I want to. This is something that we haven't brought up yet here on CBS 2. It was interesting throughout the evening tonight as we were watching this. The driver, again, this is somebody wanted for driving a stolen vehicle. There was suspicion of a DUI as well, but there were a lot of gestures made by the driver. Hand gestures with the left arm, almost like bring it on or slow down, to even like like waving at people and help me. We don't know exactly what was going on, but Stu, have you heard anything about the reasons why those gestures were happening?
We have not heard anything about those gestures at all. I can tell you we're at Gelson's right now on Ventura Boulevard. It's going to be Ventura and Haven. There was some talk about another spike strip being deployed in this area. We did not see it. You know, I'm always kind of leaning towards the more mellow type of side, Jeff, and I would kind of say that, you know, maybe he's just getting some fresh air. Maybe he's just doing the right-on, you know, type of gesture. I can't really tell. Earlier on, it did seem he was almost pointing at something in front of the car, but whatever it is, I don't think it's going to be an excuse in the end where officers are going to go, oh, that's what you meant. Okay, never mind. Sorry about all that. This guy is going to get the bracelets at one point this evening. Hopefully, that's the way it's going to end. And being taken into custody.
Yeah. You know, we talk about taunting police, and we've seen, you know, pursuit suspects do that significant. I mean, you know, we've seen that for sure. But tonight we're seeing the slow driver. The last stop that they stopped at, we don't know if it was because there was a stop light that they were stopping, or maybe perhaps to taunt police. Okay, it was. So we have seen them stop
was a stoplight.
Pretty much at all the stoplights, maybe but one. This evening, and you know, they're just obeying the traffic signals out there, and that was actually the longest ones that we've seen. You saw the officers almost get out of the cars,
it was a long light.
Open all the doors up, and then they're kind of just waiting for the person's next move. And again, despite all these spike strips deployed, besides, you know, all the eight pit maneuvers that we've seen, this person really just keeps on going.
And that's what's so interesting about these police pursuits is you see something like that where they're eluding police, they're doing all this illegal activity, yet when it comes to a red light, they come to a complete stop. And then when it turns green, they go through. Like they almost think, oh, well, I'm obeying the law, they're not going to chase me anymore. But of course that never happens. We can never get into the mind of this suspect behind the wheel. Obviously there's a lot of desperation there. We understand there may be a DUI involved, so we don't know if that's alcohol or drugs, and we don't know the frame of mind that this person has.
Yeah, and you know, just to speak to that, what you were talking about, Jeff, you know, we don't know what kind of, you know, mindset this person has right now. So officers, while they do want to catch this guy, obviously they want to do what's best for the safety of the officers as well. Stu was mentioning that they have kind of backed off on the pit maneuvers. We saw, you know, up to 8 earlier, and they were going pretty aggressively at one point with all of them, kind of, you know, going up the curb sometimes and, you know, trying to get this guy and get them to stop. And they did stop multiple times after some of the pits, but then just kept on going. You see one right there on the right side of your screen.
Well, I counted 3 that stalled the vehicle, so the driver was able to start the vehicle back up and continue on.
But again, it's the safety of the officers and the safety of the public that they're definitely putting as their #1 priority. So, you know, they want to definitely do this in the most methodical way, most safe way, and that's why I believe, Stu, they are not doing the pit maneuvers anymore.
You know, the pit maneuvers, I guess, are one of the reasons why we saw how successful they were in the past. So they're just going to kind of back off with that. It's damaging their vehicles. The LAPD, they don't have that same setup. I don't know if you just saw that shot as we made our way down Ventura Boulevard. A number of well-dressed folk out there on the side of the sidewalk there, just getting shots of what's going on outside this evening. We're getting closer. We're at Gloria right now, so the 405 is coming up here shortly. So we're going to be in the Sherman Oaks area before you know it, even at these extremely slow speeds this evening.
Okay, so it all started, we believe. Go ahead, Stu.
It's just kind of moving along. They are talking about another spike strip possibly being used here shortly. You know, sometimes people will say, why are you telling this guy where the spike strips are? You know, I would love to think that he is a CBS 2 viewer, but right now I'm sure he's got other things on his mind, wondering, and as you mentioned earlier too, Jeff, what is he thinking? I couldn't possibly even begin to guess. I don't think that any of the pit maneuvers were that aggressive. In the past, we've seen California Highway Patrol take over hit sidewalks, hit signs, and all kinds of things. In this case, you can see that spike strip actually being dragged by the bumper right there. So, and he did speed up. So I'm kind of wondering what that was all about. That was the other spike strip that we were talking about. California Highway Patrol, I'm sorry, the LAPD right behind him. You saw them speed up as soon as that car moved a little quicker. And it does show you, it's the driver, it's not the vehicle. That car could get up and move if it needed to. That driver moving very, very slowly. And again, you can see more folk out here this evening on the side of the road, cell phones out. Sure, they're not checking their Facebook. I'm sure they're actually out here this evening getting some pictures of what's going on. This is moving its way down Ventura Boulevard eastbound, and we're making our way into the Sherman Oaks area. But all that being said, the two driver's side tires still holding air. That rear bumper still dragging behind it. That car still moving along, and that driver not in custody.
Well, it's a waiting game at this point, Tom. I mean, this vehicle is severely disabled. It's going to only be a matter of time before it finally comes to a stop. And you know what was really interesting? This all started in Winnetka. It's gone through Reseda, Encino, and looks like it might be heading into Sherman Oaks at this point in time. But through Winnetka, this driver was going through a number of neighborhoods, very slow moving through neighborhoods with a lot of parked cars. Darkly lit streets on those neighborhoods, and so it was a very slow-moving pursuit in general. At one point in time, I think probably this was a little bit out of the ordinary, was the driver went through a gas station. We kind of thought maybe that would be the end of it, but was able to circle around through the pumps and then make his way back out. This is a man behind the wheel of this vehicle. We don't know what type of vehicle it is, but it certainly is a tank and has taken quite a beating tonight because we have seen 8 pit maneuvers. At least 3 were successful, textbook pit maneuvers done in the wide part of the street, didn't hit anybody, turned that car around, turned off the ignition, but somehow the driver got it back up and started and continued on to where we are now.
Yeah, we've seen drivers move on with only flat tires, all 4 flat tires actually. We've seen that, and you know, going at a high rate of speed. So and right now, if you
take a look, right as we zoom in, that might be a spike strip right there,
like it.
Lodged between the back tires of this vehicle, and it looks like it might come out the back side, and you hope it's run over by that left rear tire, which is still inflated. There it goes. Maybe it actually got it that time as it's taken a turn. Boy, there's nothing left of the right front tire, but just the rim, it looks like to me.
Turning directions, changing directions.
This is something new.
And the LAPD is right behind him. There's some traffic ahead of this guy, and it looks like the LAPD is right behind him and trying to maybe get a little bit ahead of him, but he just keeps on going, kind of weaving out of traffic there.
I was about ready to say this might be the end, but I've said that how many times before in this chase? Twice?
We've lost count already.
It was twice that I thought for sure that this was all wrapped up and done and the suspect had nowhere to go.
Is this traffic from a stoplight, Stu?
Yeah, this is traffic. Actually, people on Ventura Boulevard this evening watching what was going on. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but they basically threw out, I think, 2, maybe 3 spike strips in a row to get this, get those other tires flat. We saw one of them actually get stuck underneath the car, was dragged along the backside there. We know now the driver's side rear has gone flat. The driver's side front still not flat. Sometimes that traffic, though, it'll basically, what'll happen is this car will get stuck in traffic, and that'll actually work. But it seems like the folks on Ventura Boulevard this evening, you know, they were doing what I would be doing. If you see a car banged up like that, I don't want my car banged up. I'm going to get out of the way. Right there, you can see at the IHOP, that's a popular spot on Ventura Boulevard, Sherman Oaks-ish. And you can see these guys out there right now, everybody with their cell phones trying to get that one picture of that pursuit, very slow-moving pursuit this evening. Now, LAPD, they actually are talking about it again, saying that they might go back into a tracking mode type of situation. I don't know how that's going to work unless all the officers basically just kind of back off. But the car right now waiting for a red light, there it goes, it's green.
Okay,
and now,
let's see.
There it goes, starting to move.
Well, it's interesting you say tracking mode. They could almost bring out the mounted division and track this car. It's going so slowly. But you know what's really interesting is this vehicle, as slow as it's going right now, whenever there's an attempt to do a pit maneuver, somehow the driver gives it the gas and it perks up, and it usually gets out of whatever trouble it was in just a few seconds before.
It's true. So we have 3 flat tires right now, and we've been going for about an hour or so through the cities of Van Nuys, Winnetka, Reseda, Encino, and almost through the city of Sherman Oaks now. And this guy just keeps on going. You know, this is a numbers game almost, because we've been trying to count how many times we've seen pit maneuvers, how many times we've seen the spike strips deployed, and how many times this guy just keeps on moving.
This is like the Terminator. He just keeps going and going and going, right? Like the Energizer Bunny, just doesn't stop.
Doesn't stop.
Let's go back up to Stu Mundell in Sky 2 with the very latest. Now, Stu, this vehicle, you think at top speed right now, or what?
I don't think it's a top speed. I really don't. I think this thing could get up and really go if it needed to, if the officers got behind it. I believe that they are now just kind of regrouping, and LAPD is, and they are going into that straight-out tracking mode. They're going to tell all the ground units basically to back off. You got some other cars making their way around it right now, just traffic. And it is kind of amazing to see. It's cool, it's interesting, but it just always seems to amaze me how many people will stop, get their phones out, and actually look at this traffic on the other side of the road.
That's just
on
a
Ventura
normal
Boulevard,
car
the
passing?
westbound, the eastbound traffic. Yeah, these are
That's
just normal cars passing. I'll get a little bit wider. There are no LAPD behind it. The helicopter is still here, but they have turned off their light. So now they're just basically letting this guy drive along and
so
see
they have
where
really
he goes.
ratcheted back
But,
on this a lot. So now it is basically just, as you mentioned, a tracking.
Back into tracking mode from earlier this evening,
Right.
too.
That's how they started. It's interesting to me that it went from that to a full-on pursuit, and then we're now back to tracking. Now, I mean, obviously, it won't take much to follow this vehicle because it's severely disabled.
Sure.
But still, I don't know. It just is amazing to me that this suspect hasn't just pulled over and said, I'm done and over with, because it's going to just be a matter of minutes.
The public right now is trying to get involved. That one
That's not
Mustang
good.
right there, the officers from LAPD are talking about it. They are keeping an eye on that one vehicle. Apparently there were two vehicles earlier on trying to block that car in, basically trying to get that thing to stop. And you can see that one Mustang, that convertible, continuing to do those maneuvers. Now, LAPD, you know, as much as they are all about bringing this to an end, I can assure you they do not want the public's help at all. We don't know what this person's wanted for. We don't know how this thing could end, and we don't want to see anybody get hurt. But that one vehicle, that Mustang, was actually purposely slowing down in front of it, trying to block it. There was another vehicle there a moment ago. This SUV, another one. It seems like, I'm not sure if these people are just wanting to get pictures this evening. That silver one wants to get through. And this is where the trouble starts. You've got these two guys here that are having fun. I doubt it.
I mean, I just wonder.
These two guys are having fun out here, and they're getting these pictures, and other people just want to get away.
Well, I
and
really
you saw that silver SUV kind of cut through there.
Yeah.
So what we have
that's
now,
where the problems are going to start coming.
So what we have now are drivers, citizens, that appear to be trying to slow down this suspect vehicle. I never want to second-guess LAPD, but I almost wonder why they went into tracking mode, because now this person can mix in with traffic, and that would seem to be more dangerous. And then you have this kind of activity going on here, where these people are driving slowly.
At this point right now, are we at a stoplight? We were at a stoplight, right, Stu? And now they're moving again.
Yes.
Okay. So the driver obviously was trying to get around these cars, but it looks like he's just going to follow these cars even, and on one of the roofs right now.
So if we can, do you see the Mercedes on the left?
Right.
Right where, if we can lose the slug, well, we just lost the picture, but there's the Mercedes on the left, right there. Keep going, Stu.
Jesus.
You see that? They got the moonroof open, and they are shooting video outside of the sunroof. And
this is turning into a spectacle on Ventura Boulevard.
It's Hollywood. Yeah. So what has happened now is that Mustang convertible in the front has been driving slowly in front of the suspect vehicle now for at least a couple of blocks, ever since the police stopped the pursuit mode and going into tracking mode. And now we got like paparazzi type of people that are just driving around the suspect vehicle taking pictures.
Yeah. If you're just joining us
I wouldn't call those guys paparazzis at all.
Well,
there you go.
And
that's one of the problems right there. The part of that bumper popping off and hitting another vehicle, that's going to be part of the problems right there. They don't want that type of situation. That Mustang definitely messing with that car constantly this evening, getting in front of it, trying to block it in. That one car right there with the moonroof open, the Mercedes, probably a C-Class. That one, those are just kids or young adults out there this evening with just trying to get pictures of what's going on. That's the reason why they don't want this type of situation. When the public starts getting involved and you have tempers that start flaring, these people are not professionals, and of course there's going to be some sort of issue. Now, this thing has been moving its way back and forth here on Ventura Boulevard this evening, so that does kind of, it makes it an easy target. Anybody that's in the area knows where it is. They can get here, they can get that selfie next to the bad guy's car.
And they're driving so slowly.
But it's still continuing on. The helicopter, definitely overhead. There you go. There's some stringers right there. I think that's RMG again. I can tell by the hat. That's probably Howard. So they're down there. They're getting the shots, but you can see they're not right up against that car. They're not right up talking to him. They're not trying to block him in.
That's the three cars that have been following him the whole time. And if you take a look, you understand that those drivers are also driving illegally. I saw the Mustang, the convertible Mustang, going to oncoming traffic at one point in time to get around the suspect vehicle. So this is very dangerous. Hey, Stu, where are we exactly? We're in Encino. What are the cross streets here? Ventura and what?
Ventura and probably Havenhurst right there.
Okay.
You can see RMG there running. These guys getting their exercise this evening, trying to get those shots. I always got to give those guys props because they are there when it's happening on the ground, and that, you know how difficult that can be. So they're down there running this evening, just kind of paralleling the car. You got that one with the person with the sunroof open, with the you were calling the paparazzi earlier. Let's just call her a young adult trying to get some pictures. But right now, still moving very slowly. The group of cars around it, LAPD, they are in the air. They're watching this. They know what's going on. But right now, they're just kind of choosing to do the hands-off thing. Hopefully, this guy is going to stop. And those U-turns like that, it could, you know, it's just so dangerous.
That was about the most dangerous move that we've seen from this person
And that was
tonight.
because the suspect was penned in by those citizens that are driving and circling the wagons around this
They want to get away
driver.
from it.
So now he's made the U-turn, which makes it so dangerous. This is what's wrong with this situation, is people try to intervene. They're trying to have fun with this, and it's not fun and games. This is serious stuff, even though this vehicle is going very slowly.
Yeah, very slowly.
It's a stolen vehicle. You don't know how desperate this person is.
Right, and we don't know the mindset of this person. We know that they are driving under the influence. We know that much because that was the original want on this person. But we don't know if they're armed. We have no idea what's going on inside that car. So, you know, just to intervene with police, I mean, police actually backed off just so that, you know, they don't have to put the safety of the public in danger. But, you know, just to make sure that there's safety going on, they want to make sure they just, you know, police are not, see, this is what they do not want. They don't want people to engage. They don't want people to come out and talk to this person, but obviously they're seeing it on TV and coming out, and they're seeing it because this driver has been moving so slowly, so they know the exact location of where this person is. Just to recap, if you're just joining us here on CBS 2 News at 11, we've been following this for about an hour and a half now throughout the San Fernando Valley. This is the pursuit that started actually as a following by the LAPD and then turned into a pursuit in the city of Van Nuys. Went through the cities of Winnetka, Reseda, Encino, Sherman Oaks, and it looks like we're back in Encino right now where a guy is dancing circles around this car trying to get the attention of this driver.
That's what he's doing. But what's interesting here is if you take a look and you get a wider shot there, you'll see those two vehicles once again that followed that suspect vehicle. Somehow they made a U-turn also on Ventura and got back around. That's the silver vehicle right behind the suspect vehicle. Also there was that, there's the, I believe that might be the Mercedes.
The photographer, right?
And then we also had that Mustang with a convertible. Pictures. So, Stu, is there any way that you can show us how close the police officers are at this point in time?
They are not.
They're gone completely.
They are gone.
Okay.
They are gone. Now they say it. There's actually one officer right there. So they may be talking about re-engaging it, especially with that one guy out there dancing around the vehicle just moments ago. They might actually even go talk to that person here in just a few moments. That one SUV, that silver SUV, I believe it's an Isuzu that we keep seeing, that keeps popping up in the shot as well. That car keeps moving around. It'll get ahead of it, and it looks like it wants to brake check it, but the car's moving so slowly. That's the one I'm talking about right there. And again, I just think it is somebody that's in the area that's just trying to maybe be part of this, or perhaps get that car to stop. Maybe they have the best intentions. I'm saying it with that high pitch at the end because I'm not really believing it myself.
Yeah, I really don't think it's a good idea. It's people behaving badly.
This car just keeps on moving.
Yeah, it's people behaving badly.
And then they're back in it.
Yeah, okay.
Pursuit's back on. It's going to be official here in just a moment.
All right, so
and they're going to be making their way back in there. I don't know if they're going to try to pit this thing, but they are going to. They might have the wrong car right there.
That's not the right car.
I'm being serious about that.
Yeah, they're about a half a block back.
There it is.
There it is right there.
Slowly moving.
Well, they might be making a traffic stop. I mean, a number of those vehicles that were trailing that suspect vehicle were doing illegal U-turns or blocking intersections, so maybe they're going to give that guy a ticket. But let's take a look here. This is going to be the suspect vehicle. This all started for almost about an hour now. This has been going on, a very slow-moving chase. And we've seen this individual behind the wheel that has gone through 8 pit maneuvers, 3 of which were successful and completely spun the car around. And Susie, this suspect driver wanted for a stolen vehicle and DUI, also ran over several spike strips as well. And that leads us to where we are now, where we have
We have
citizens that are getting
are,
in the way.
People
yeah,
intervening.
people along Ventura
More
Boulevard
people intervening.
intervening.
That guy just pulled right out on purpose, stopped that car, brought it to a stop. It looks like he's going to be.
Police have got to
who
stop.
knows?
Getting so close.
But, yeah, he's basically engaging that vehicle.
Are the police
but
officers anywhere near
up.
this person right now? We saw them further down. Oh,
no,
okay.
they are about a half a block away. And but that car definitely engaging that suspect.
This is vigilante behavior. I don't
it,
understand why this is happening, and I don't understand why LAPD is allowing this to happen. I mean, obviously,